The shell split apart, revealing something astonishing. A tiny dragon crawled out from the pot, steam rising from its glistening scales. Ravensgard, a medium-sized village surrounded by thick woods and towering mountains, had been ravaged by hunger as the villagers earnestly awaited the harvesting season, which was still 2 months away. About 5 kilometers north of Ravensgard lay Shadowwood Forest, a place spoken of in hushed whispers, where few dared to wander. Yet hunger had a way of silencing fear. One morning, Astrid, a brave young girl, and her mother, Sina, ventured into Shadowwood in search of food. The forest was thick with mist and carried the eerie whispers of death. As they searched, Astrid spotted something unusual hidden in the undergrowth. A massive egg, larger than any she had ever seen, glowing faintly. She first thought it might be an ostrich egg, but no, this was far too large. She pointed the egg out to her mother, who hesitated at first, but hunger soon outweighed fear. Together they carried the heavy egg home, dreaming of a meal that could last for days. That night, as the water boiled and steam curled into the air, a sharp crack echoed through the cottage, followed by a screeching sound and a tiny roar. More screeches followed. Astrid and Sina froze. The shell split apart, revealing something astonishing. A tiny dragon crawled out from the pot, steam rising from its glistening scales. The creature let out a sharp cry, its golden eyes locking onto Astrid's. Sina gasped, stepping back in fear, but Astrid felt something stir deep within her. She reached out, and instead of recoiling, the dragon curled against her hand, trembling. From that moment, they were bound. Astrid named him Valdris, meaning ruler of fire. She groomed him, fed him, spoke to him, and in time, trained him. His wings grew wide, his claws strong, and soon he was large enough for Astrid to ride. Together they soared over Ravensgard, the wind in her hair, the world stretching endlessly below. But their joy was short-lived. Beyond Shadowwood Forest, in the cursed depths of the dark gorge, dwelled monsters the villagers called the Shadowborn. Soulless creatures, twisted by darkness that had terrorized Ravensgard for generations. They attacked without warning, killing and destroying all in their path. Their leader, Sagabond, the Lord of Darkness, was the worst of them all, taller than any man, clad in jagged armor forged from the bones of his fallen enemies. One night, the Shadowborn attacked. They burned homes, tore through the village, and filled the air with their terrible screams. Astrid could not stand by. She leaped onto Valdris, gripping his scales as they soared into the sky. With her sword raised high, she roared, "Dracarys!" Valdris responded with a deafening roar, unleashing a torrent of fire, decimating a large number of the Shadowborn monsters. The villagers watched in awe as Astrid and her dragon fought fiercely. Hundreds of the Shadowborn monsters were annihilated into ashes. But Sagabond, the Lord of Darkness, was ready. He lifted a cursed spear, dark energy pulsing around it, and hurled it at Valdris. The spear struck Valdris's wing. The dragon let out a screech of pain, his body twisting as he spiraled downward. Astrid clung to him as they crashed beyond the hills, landing in an unknown land. Valdris lay wounded, crying out in agony. His roar echoed across the mountains, continuing for several minutes. Then the skies answered. From the distant peaks, 3 enormous dragons appeared, their presence shaking the air itself. They were gigantic, fierce, with eyes glowing brighter than fire, their bodies covered in sword-sized scales, and their claws sharp enough to tear down cities. They landed, staring curiously and pityingly at one of their own writhing in pain. Then their gazes shifted to Astrid, a human bonded to one of their kind. Astrid, bruised but resolute, stood tall and walked toward the dragons. Slowly, she raised her hands and made signs, gestures she had used to communicate with Valdris. She pointed toward the north. The dragons understood. Now, the fury of the dragons. The ground trembled as the dragons took flight, their massive wings blotting out the sky. Fire rained down upon Sagabond's fortress, consuming the Shadowborn army in an inferno of vengeance. Sagabond bellowed in fury, lifting his blade for one final stand. but he was immediately incinerated in flames. With the Shadowborn destroyed, peace returned to Ravensgard. From that day forward, no enemy dared challenge the village. Valdris was given a heroic burial. Astrid became the people's champion, and her legend spread across the earth like wildfire.